I hear, oh, there you go. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm indeed pleasured to be here and to see so many wonderful faces today on this state of the city great meeting. Now I got one motion to pass on the business side. You know, I believe in this whole issue of civic engagement. And when I see all of you out here doing your part to build a better city and to find out what's going on, you know, I just don't think you ought to have to pay a parking fee. Now, I'm not really mad about the parking fee. I'm mad about that's the only $10 I had to buy me a drink. All right? So next year maybe we can do without that when people come, especially my seniors. Boy, I get upset about that. So anyway, I'm Tom Kimball, and I'm surely happy to be here tonight to welcome you and to say hello. And I want to take this occasion to say hello to a few people that I know you know. The mayor is giving the address tonight, but she has a team. And I just wanted to recognize members of her team. Those of you that are part of the city council, will you just stand and let people see how wonderful you look? Give them a hand. Thank you so much. And are there members of the school district, school board, school staff? Anybody here? All right. Okay. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. What about the county, Oakland County? Anyone here? Hey, Andy, how you doing? Let's give them a big hand. Thank you so much. Now, I know that this is running time where people are out saying, vote for me and I'll set you free. All of those of you that are attempting to be elected officials, will you just stand and let us see you also, please? Thank you. All right. I see members of a partnership here also, and that's the Oakland University Pontiac Partnership, who have played such a tremendous role in some of the initiatives in the city. Those from Oakland University, will you stand and be internized? Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. And then without God, we couldn't do it. So those that are representatives of the Most High, our clergy, will you stand and help us? All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Now as a senior, sometimes I'm forgetful. Who did I miss? The library? Everybody else that's important. Let's give them a hand. Thank you so. Now, these are some people that I just like to see. Just raise your hand. And these are people with what I call positive attitudes. Any people with positive attitudes for the city in here, just raise your hand. Well, that's what I'm talking about. And it looked like I got more of them than anybody else. I was on my way to this meeting tonight, and I was listening to Joel Osteen. Listen to Joel Osteen. And he was talking about the power we have by just saying a good word to people and about people. And then he went on to start talking about this self-fulfilling prophecy that if you constantly criticize people, if you constantly say negative things about them, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get a person that fails. But if you use that power to say, you know, you're doing a good job, keep it up, stay in the fight, keep doing well, then that person is going to give you a different kind of response. So that's the kind of city I think we ought to be. A city of positive people saying good things about people, even when we know they could do better. But good, better, best, never let it rest. Make good better and better best. And that's the way we do things here in the city of Pontiac. You know? And a lot of people are doing great things, but sometimes we don't give them the acclimates. My mama, Anna Lois Kimball, down in my native state of Texas, projects of South Dallas, used to say to me, Tommy, if you go in the woods, the only place you'll see sticks is under a tree that's bearing fruit. And I didn't understand what she meant then. But now I understand what she's talking about. If you ain't producing nothing, if you ain't growing something, ain't nobody gonna throw no stick at you, all right? So those of you that are politicians or educators or whatever the case might be, if people are throwing sticks at you, that means that you're trying to make things better, you're growing things. So don't forget that. Now, this crowd tonight is evidence that we are rising. And when we rise with great attitudes, we can make a difference. And I think that the mayor is going to be saying something about, because of everything that's happened, in spite of everything that's happened, still we rise. So let me take this opportunity to introduce to you Miss Trinity Martin, who's going to come and sing the national anthem for us. Come on, Trinity.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early
right, let's give Trinity another big hand. That's wonderful. That's great. Yeah. Hey. All right, now I said due to age, I forgot some things, and I'm gonna try to make up for it. Hey, Senator Gary Peters' office is here. Hey, Jim Jackson, where's Jim? Oh, all right. Thanks for the great, Jim. And let me say, Jeremy from Debbie Stavenow's office is here. Jeremy? All right, thank you. And we have some state reps here. Is Tim Grimel here? Hey, Tim, how are you? Sorry I didn't do that officially, okay? And then we have Christine Gregg. Christine, you here? All right, Christine is not here. But, you know, we have some partners also. I announced Oakland University, but one of the boards that I personally am on and I miss, Baker College. Pete Karsten, are you here, Pete? All right, then I raise my hand for Baker College. All right, as a board member. All right, and OCC, my good friend Doug Smith, I saw him somewhere. Yeah, Doug. All right, and we have community partners, people that are engaged to help us achieve these things that we're trying to achieve. Habitat of Humanity, OLSA, Power Company, and the guys that every month they send me a pension, GM Foundation. Why don't you stand, guys? All right, thank you so much. And then there's the mayor's staff and her team, everybody that's a part of the city of Pontiac. Will you stand and let people see you and what a great job you're doing? Just stand up for one moment. Okay, Pastor Clark. Pastor Clark? Okay. Pastor Jones? You guys are looking good. Pastor, will you come and give us grace? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's pray. Dear God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, you have told us in your word to build houses and live in them, to plant gardens and eat their produce, to seek the welfare of the city where we live, and pray to the Lord on its behalf. For in its welfare you will find welfare. We have done that, and we have seen what you have done and are doing. Long deferred repairs have been made in this city's neighborhoods, and our children are able to play in our streets again, and our elderly to sit on their porches. We thank you for Mayor Waterman and all her efforts to bring Pontiac back to financial stability. Bless her tonight as she speaks to us and tells us of the great things happening here in our city. Thank you for city government, for city council, and all those who serve in this city. Continue to bless our churches and charities of our city. And thank you for the opportunities we have to serve one another. In the name of Christ we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. You know, last year I told you guys that this young man, his family lived immediately behind me in Southfield, and he was a little boy when I first met him, and he was a badass little boy too. But excuse the bad word, all right. But he grew up to be just a wonderful young man, and he's made us all very proud. Mark S. Lee. Mark is host of Small Talk with Mark S. Lee on CBS Detroit, and he's a regular Crain's Detroit business blogger. Mark emphasizes small business growth and entrepreneurship in Detroit and southeastern Michigan. He also contributes to WXYZ Channel 7. He's spotlighted on the news and has been interviewed for Detroit Channel 56 and the American Black Journal. In addition to being a noted public speaker, he is an adjunct marketing professor at Eastern Michigan University and has been a guest lecturer at Boston University and the University of North Florida. In addition, he's an adjunct professor at Walsh College in Troy, Michigan. Mr. Lee has senior marketing leadership positions in companies including Florida Blue, PepsiCo, the Auto Club Group, ABNN Ambrose, Marcus Group, and GMAC. He has a wonderful educational background as an MBA from Kellogg and a Bachelor's of Business Administration from Eastern Michigan University. Ladies and gentlemen, our celebrity tonight is Mark S. Lee.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? This is my second year, and I appreciate the opportunity of coming back. And Tom, every time people, read someone's bio, it's amazing. I sound old. I can't believe that I've done all that, but I really want to take the opportunity of expressing my appreciation to being here this evening for the State of the City address, certainly for Mayor Waterman. And so, again, we want to thank you all for coming out. It's going to be a very, hopefully, inspirational evening. And my name is Mark S. Lee, and I'm the founder of and president and CEO of the Lee Group, which is a strategic marketing organization based here in Metro Detroit. And as he referenced, I also host Small Talk with Mark S. Lee, and it is a program that's focused on entrepreneurship and small business development, and it's heard nationally. My show is streamed nationally across the entire country, and it airs locally here on WXYT AM 1270, and I will be your MC for this evening. You can also hear my show on SoundCloud.com, LeeGroupInnovation.com, WWJPlus.com, and the Hub, Detroit.com. And as he referenced, I also blow for Branch Detroit Business. I contribute to many TV shows here in the Detroit area. I'm on Michigan Matters, Spotlight on the News, and other programs that he's referenced. But anyway, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this year's, the 2018 State of the City Address for the great city of Pontiac. And I'm truly honored to be invited back to join you again this year. Thank you very much for the opportunity. As Tom referenced, this year's theme is Progress in Politics in Pontiac, which is appropriate because another part of today's theme is, and still we rise. And we know this city is on the rise. And despite all the challenges confronting our urban areas, Pontiac is indeed making progress and is, in fact, still rising. And as I mentioned to the mayor recently, I saw her last week at the Mackinac Policy Conference. We got into a conversation up there as well. You can't go anywhere where she's being surrounded by people to talk about the city of Pontiac. And you can't turn on the news and open up certain various publications and not know what's happening in the city of Pontiac. And under her leadership, and as Tom referenced earlier, along with members of council, the business and community leaders, is the driving force behind this change. You see, in the words, I know we have Michigan State fans here, and I'm sure we got Michigan fans here. I'm Eastern Michigan, I'm sure we got Central Michigan. But there was a famous coach by the name of Bo Schembechler. And Bo always said what? The team, the team, the team. And what Mayor Waterman has done is you cannot have a success without what? The team. And as part of her address tonight, Mayor Waterman will be providing an update on economic development and its impact on this great city. She will also be discussing Pontiac's continuing budget surplus, updating the litigation settlement regarding retiree health care benefits, and will share with you the status of the Phoenix Center and acknowledge recipients of the Neighborhood Empowerment Awards. As I referenced earlier, this city is on the rise, and here are just a few examples I'd like to highlight. Oakland County has received over $1 billion in investments, with Pontiac receiving its lion's share, with Williams International, an aerospace manufacturing company, which will be relocating its operations to Pontiac. That is nearly a $350 million investment in the city of Pontiac. The city continues to move forward as part of its renewal by hiring employees in key positions and now creating a planning division. You can have a successful business, which is what I focus on. You can have a successful city. You can have successful kids. You can have a successful career without what? A plan. And plans are crucial to one's future. She will also be discussing unity and progress, which is focused on having a shared vision and giving residents and elected officials a voice. I get asked a lot to give my perspective across Detroit and across the country. I recently was on a radio station in New York City asking me, why is southeastern Michigan turning hot? And I always talk about the fact that we're starting to have this collective shared vision. You can argue and disagree with that, that's not the point. But unless you have that unity and a shared vision, you're not going to have success. She will also reference the 12 African-American women trailblazers recognized recently as part of the community at the Pontiac Public Library. And the last piece is about entrepreneurship. Now, I did some research this afternoon on entrepreneurship. A lot of people ask me about that because, yes, I've kind of become the leading face and voice in southeastern Michigan for entrepreneurship and its impact. Let me give you some statistical data as to why this city is on the rise. As I did my research, according to the most recent U.S. Census data, 2012, there are approximately 4,400 firms in the city of Pontiac. Okay, about 4,400. And there are approximately 1,500 are men-owned businesses, 2,500 are women-owned businesses. Now let me just kind of put that in perspective for you. Men in the city of Pontiac represent 33% of all the businesses here in town. Women-owned businesses, which is one of the hottest areas across southeastern Michigan, as well as across the country, represent nearly 60% of all the businesses here in Metro Detroit, here in Pontiac. It's okay to applaud, absolutely. Minority-owned businesses represent 62% in the great city of Pontiac. Let me put that in perspective for you. 62% of businesses in this city are minority-owned. In Oakland County, it's 18%. Women-owned businesses, I want to go back and highlight 58% in the city of Pontiac. That compares to 34% for Oakland County. And as I referenced one more time, men represent 33% of businesses here, but Oakland County, you represent nearly 56% of all the businesses. All right, so that's just important. So she's going to highlight the importance of entrepreneurship, stabilizing small businesses. Businesses represent 60%, 65% of all jobs across the United States of America. Not the Fords, the GMs, the Chrysler. No, we're not disrespecting them. But entrepreneurs have become economic generators and indicators. And no difference here in the city of Pontiac. And now that the city has enhanced its position on financial stabilization, economic, and community development, that will enable all of us to realize growth while providing what you deserve as a city and to have a sustainable community and to continue to focus on economic growth and development and community development. So with this as a backdrop, let me just read you briefly the mayor's bio, and then what we're going to have is a wonderful musical selection from Gwen Fox. And after Gwen sings, the mayor will come up and provide her State of the City address. We know that Mayor Waterman is a committed public servant with decades of professional expertise, public service, and certainly giving back to the community. She was elected in 2013, becoming the first woman to ever be elected to the position of mayor. An ophthalmologist by profession, Dr. Waterman is a longtime business owner, and she operated her own practice, Holloway Eye Care, in Pontiac for over 30 years, and was the first African-American female ophthalmologist in the state of Michigan. And many residents here have been patients in her presence, in her practice. She stepped in as the leader in her professional career. She served as the chairwoman of the National Medical Association Region 4, as well as 2 terms as finance chair for that organization. She was also president of the Associated Healthcare Providers and is listed in the first edition of Vital Signs, Michigan, citing African American achievement in healthcare. Now, Mayor, I know I went to Northwestern University for my MBA, but she's a graduate of the University of Chicago, So if you're from the Chicago area, there's a little rivalry there between Northwestern University of Chicago, and that's a phenomenal program at University of Chicago. And she has a degree in biology and political science, as well as Meharry Medical College, and she completed her residency at the Kresge Eye Institute at Wayne State. And she and her husband, the late Judge William Waterman, have two wonderful children, Shauna and Tucson, whom they raised in Pontiac. And she has called Pontiac home for nearly 4 decades and is an active member of the Plymouth United Church of Christ. So without further ado, before the mayor comes up, we're going to have Gwen Fox come up and sing a musical selection for us, and then you will see a video, and then after the video, the mayor will come up with a State of the City address. I thank you for your time, and I appreciate your attention, and I appreciate coming back. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor Waterman chose a special song that means a lot to her. Therefore, I have to make it happen. When you feel you've taken every step you can take, and you're sure you're never gonna catch a break, and the tears are really running down your face, when your faith is low and you got no strength left, when you think you're going as far as you can go, you run down and you just can't run anymore. I'll take that struggle, I'll take the fight. Oh, I'll fight that war for you. I'll fight, stand up for you. I'll take on the struggle, that's what I should do. I'll always be there for you. Oh, I'll take the fight. Oh, when you're weak and you can't seem to make it through, and you need a friend that's there for you, don't be afraid to call on Mayor Waterman. She is the one who will take a stand. She'll fight for you, all the struggles too. All you got to do is know she'll see it through, 'cause she'll fight that war for you. She'll fight, stand up, that's true, it's true. Oh, she will be there for you. She is the one who will fight the fight. She'll have your back when your back's against the wall, and dry every tear when it falls. She is the one to stand. She'll be there. Oh, yes, she will. She'll fight the fight. She's the one you can depend on. She'll fight the fight. Oh, the true fight, the strong fight, holding on with all of her might. She'll fight, she will fight the fight, she will fight the fight. Through the struggles, through the pain, through the adversities, she will remain stronger
Mayor Dieter Waterman of Pontiac. Under Mayor Waterman's leadership, several prominent companies have chosen the Oakland County seat for their new corporate headquarters. She had a role in bringing new industries to the area, like financial services, defense contractors, and tech, to a city that was once reliant on the Big Three. Mayor Waterman? So, Mayor, you've been in office 4 years, but you made your career in your name and your accomplishments as an ophthalmologist. Tell me, what about your business experience and expertise informed and shaped how you lead politically in the city?
My business experience provided an aesthetic, I think, that Pontiac needed. Sometimes you need the right aesthetic at the right time. Pontiac had been suffering, and we were able to restore Pontiac, to revitalize Pontiac, to bring Pontiac and to diversify the economy. Those were the things that we needed. And as I ran for office, and I was interested in taking out cataracts until I got recruited to run for mayor of Pontiac. And one of my slogans that I think people bought was that I was a candidate with the best vision for Pontiac. So they bought that.
Our next horse-drawn carriage, we have the wonderful mayor of the city of Pontiac, Mayor Dieter Waterman, duly reelected. Mayor Waterman made history twice as the first woman mayor of Pontiac, and then as the first strong woman mayor to be reelected to consecutive.
Hi, my name is Jonas Gray, 6-year NFL pro from Pontiac, Michigan, by way of Jefferson Middle School to Detroit Country Day and then to the University of Notre Dame. I'm here to speak to you guys about why Wisner. Why we should have Wisner as the hub for our youth center. I think our youth deserve the best, and why not give them the best? Wisner is a secure, beautiful, newly renovated facility that will have our kids loving and wanting to come back every single day.
And as we begin, Mayor Waterman, I want to start with a thought about the youth of today, because that's what we're talking about. How do we fill the skills gap of tomorrow? You do it by encouraging young people today, and I know that you've brought some young people with you today.
Thank you, Murray, and thank you, the marketing and sales professionals who are here. You chose Pontiac for this meeting, and Brad has given you a great idea of how we got here, and very proud of what M1 Concourse.
I'm so pleased you come back to Pontiac, and you have really committed yourself to working with our youth and to bringing back the youth recreation and the empowerment activities, which were so important, as you've recounted, in your days growing up in Pontiac.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me, you've seen the world, you know, you've achieved the ultimate in your career as an athlete. So what brings you back to Pontiac? What is that commits you to coming back to our fair city and helping our Pontiac youth?
You know what? I think the main reason why I'm back is because I love the city. In a lot of ways, the city of Pontiac and the things that I went through, whether it be in my career, whether it be in any decisions that I've made, they've always been surrounded around Pontiac. The city itself has helped my character, helped me become a better person, and I know how to fight in the trenches because I'm from the city of Pontiac. So I wanted to come back here and make sure when I was hearing some things about the youth recreation and what was being offered for the youth, I wanted to come back and I wanted to make sure that not only do the youth have the things that they had when I was growing up, but to have it better. You know what I mean?
Lift and try to keep it in the box, otherwise I'll have to clean it up. 1, 2, 3.
You're welcome. How does it feel today just to host this iconic event in the city of Pontiac?
In lieu of what is just happening, this is pretty symbolic, you know. Part of the symbolism was that this is the end of the era for the Silverdome as a structure that is going to be demolished here in the city of Pontiac. But it's also symbolic of the fact that Pontiac is coming into a new era as we go into a new period of resurgence, revitalization. But in addition to that, it was a chance for people to come and be nostalgic, have a lot of memories. People have memories of the events they attended and favorite moments they want to share at the Silverdome. So a lot of people came together to do that. People were lined up all along the perimeter to watch it. And it was also symbolic for us in the fact that it didn't quite go off as planned. It was a lot of fire and fury, and the detonations were pretty impressive.
And please help me welcome the Mayor of Pontiac, Deirdre Waterman, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't you look lovely out there, Pontiac? Are you having a great time tonight? All right. I know you're here to hear our headlining acts, which are on in a moment. I've got a chance to hear them warming up, and they sound great. So this is all about Pontiac coming together. This is what we call a unity in the community event for Pontiac, which is uniting in so many ways. And what better way for Pontiac to come together than through our musical legends. Hello, I'm Mayor Deirdre Waterman, and I'm here to give an introduction to the highlight film you'll see of the summer youth recreation programs that we launched here in Pontiac. This summer, we had a number of recreation and enrichment programs for our children in partnership both with the school district, where we operated out of WHRC, but also we had many recreation sports activities at our parks that the kids enjoyed. We had over 500 Pontiac children enjoying the programs this year. And we also had several programs brought under the banner of the city's youth recreation programs, including the Murphy Day Camp program. We had over 70 children this year. Good evening, Pontiac. All right, and thank you for attending this State of the City address. The video you just saw were some clips. All this is happening right here in Pontiac. Aren't we proud to be in this city? Absolutely. So, this is my 5th State of the City address. I have delivered as the mayor of Pontiac. And each year I've decided to choose a different venue just to show the wealth and breadth of the kinds of places we have here in Pontiac where people can be entertained and enjoy Pontiac life. And this year, we are at the Crowfoot, and I thank Blair McGowan and all his staff for being such an inimitable host. Thank them for the red carpet they laid out for you so we could have a very important year celebration of the State of the City for what Pontiac has come through, and I'll be describing that for you during this speech. I also want to thank you, Tom Kimball. I think this is the 5th year you've been my master of ceremony for the State of the City. I call you my good luck charm. And also, Mark, of course, for you to come so far. We were in Mackinac together, and you have had such influence on your radio show. I thank you for coming to Pontiac. Clearly, you've been watching and paying attention to what's going on here, because you speak with a lot of insight about Pontiac. And I thank all the other people who've been on the program this evening and all those who will be participating as part of this evening's State of the City. Maya Angelou was the source of the theme that I had for this evening's State of the City address. Her words, I still I rise, could also be an idiom for the metaphor for the experience of Pontiac, as we have worked valiantly to come back from the depths of financial crisis to this revived state that I'm going to tell you about. We are going to listen to the similarities in these two experiences. Her poem was really about the metaphor of the African-American experience coming from slavery and the struggles. And you might see that that is also a metaphor for the struggles Pontiac has had. I'm going to quote a few words from that poem that Maya Angelou wrote. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me to the very dust, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Just like moms and like sons, with its certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I rise. And indeed, we have risen, Pontiac. We've stabilized our neighborhoods by eliminating blight and reducing crime. We've stabilized our finances by strategic financial planning and building a surplus that now stands at over $14 million. That is the equivalent, absolutely. That is the equivalent of 45% of our general operating revenue. We're required for a city of this size to have 15 or 20%. So you see, we've far exceeded the normal requirement. We've diversified our economy by attracting new sector industries and by vying for companies that would not previously have considered moving to Pontiac. Such companies are United Shore, a mortgage broker company that is relocating their headquarters from Troy. They're bringing 2,400 jobs. That's significant, 2,400. I want to get the right number. As they move their headquarters, and they're looking to hire 100 more by the time they get here. They actually start moving in a day or so ago and plan to complete that move-in by August. They are also bringing a transformative attitude about workforce training and support mechanisms, as well as a sense of public-private partnership that we will receive well in the city of Pontiac. Another company that's moving in with their move-in date about July 9th, and that's William International. They are an aerospace defense contractor, and they're moving their headquarters from Commerce Township. We love attracting these kind of quality of businesses from other communities coming to Pontiac. Over the next 5 years, they'll be bringing investment to Pontiac and development that's estimated to amount to a whopping $1.5 billion. I think that's significant. Peter Karamonis, that's a name that many of us know and recognize. He led the way toward realizing Pontiac as an emerging hub of the high-tech industry by relocating 5 of his companies right in our Riker building that are downtown. He is bringing his businesses under the name of Mad Dog Enterprises. Indeed, his commitment has succeeded in attracting a number of other high-tech businesses that are now relocating to Pontiac. This is cutting-edge future development right here in our city. We've also streamlined our building and safety planning procedures so that we can attract more new businesses to the city who can get their businesses started with the efficiency needed to meet their project target deadlines. And that's important if you've got money invested and people on the clock. We are a one-stop ready community, and mostly all of our application processes are now online. That makes it possible for an investor anywhere in the world to be able to initiate the planning process and invest here in Pontiac. We have also been certified by the MEDC as eligible to start the process for becoming a redevelopment-ready city. Once this process is completed, we will have bragging rights for achieving this level of certification that has statewide recognition. We've also drastically reduced our inventory of vacated GM properties. At one time, 4 years ago, actually, when I first became mayor, Pontiac had the largest inventory of vacated GM properties anywhere in the world. We've worked with Racer Trust to rehabilitate or repurpose many of those properties, so that now that has been an immense success, And we've had renovated properties that have been repurposed, such as you saw on the screen in the video, M1 Concourse, and also the Fiero plant here in Pontiac, to name a couple. As the inventory has dwindled, there's only 2 irregular small lots still to be left and sold from that inventory. That's a good thing for Pontiac as we're moving forward. We've also established partnerships with funding institutions that make access to capital and more available for businesses and easier to obtain for both small and large businesses, both old and new. SEED is an example of this. They've offered several opportunities for established businesses to win grants by expanding and competing in the Pitch in Pontiac contest. It's kind of like TV Shark Tank, but it's limited to businesses who operate and hire right here in the city. Flagstar Bank is another of our financial partners. They pledged a $10 million investment to Pontiac within 5 years, and they're now in the 2nd year of that. They are well underway to achieving that benchmark by establishing products such as the Comeback Mortgage, a low-interest, low-fee, down payment refundable product, which was designed specifically to stimulate the Pontiac home ownership market. And we're grateful to them for that. And Flagstar has also underwritten the enhancement of our website by funding a business portal, which we can use to advertise businesses and to appreciate the businesses that want to locate here and provide information. They also have funded loans and grants to local businesses, including a $100,000 grant to the Fillmore to create and distribute a brand of Pontiac-made craft beers. That's good. Sandro Danello is their visionary president of Flagstar. And together we are planning a CEO summit, some of you may be interested in, as a sounding board to develop a strategy to move to the next phase of the Pontiac Moving Forward agenda, to take us just a rung higher as we continue to revitalize the city. We have used innovative development agreements to achieve substantial financial benefits from new and expanding businesses that want economic incentives to bring their businesses here. The most notable of those development agreements recently is the one with Redico. And on the screen, you see the $280 million mixed-use development right on Telegraph, just north of Square Lake Road, that sat empty and uncompleted and forlorn for 8 years. And now there's shovels in the ground. They already have contracts with new stores that will be coming soon to that site, including Menards. I hear that's a lot of people's favorite store here, as well as an Aldi's grocery store. It's good to welcome a chain grocery store to the city of Pontiac. Also, Edward Rose is building 430 new market rates, that's significant, market rate now, housing complex, which is soon to go into its construction phase, with even more tenants to be announced for that multi-use development. That's going to be coming to Pontiac. And the significant thing about the development agreement that I worked out with Redico is that they're going to earmark $2 million for each phase of construction dedicated to hiring Pontiac workers, as well as, that's great, as well as carve-outs for Pontiac-based businesses and contractors. And that's not just a pipe dream. We have a way of auditing that, and we know that they're well underway for being able to bring that kind of lucrative opportunities to Pontiac-based businesses and contractors, and we're very pleased with that. A few weeks ago, there was the announcement that Henry Ford Hospital would be opening a $38 million outpatient center on the Redico site as well. And that was a great news for the city of Pontiac. So with the coming of Henry Ford development, that means that we will have as a city 3 major healthcare institutions right here in the city of Pontiac. With St. Joe, Oakland, it's Trinity Health who's represented. We also have, of course, McLaren, and now Henry Ford. So this is quite extraordinary for a city of our size to be able to support that kind of healthcare industry. So we continue to seek ways to connect our residents with the job opportunities and to provide more awareness of access to job training and support. We've established a jobs pipeline aimed at connecting our residents with employers who are doing business in and around Pontiac. That has grown steadily in the number of job opportunities that we've been able to publicize and connect willing owners with willing workers. And to the extent that I want to give one example of how this has been achieved, such great results, that's with the company called ODMS, which located in Pontiac. Through the jobs pipeline, ODMS has reached out to post available job openings, and to date, the company has hired 44 Pontiac residents and will schedule a date soon. That's great. And will schedule a date soon to come back to City Council where they'll announce even more job openings. And the nice things about these jobs is that the company has an aggressive training program to move entry-level employees to advancing positions of responsibility and pay grade. They believe in hiring from within and use workforce development methods to initiate, motivate, and encourage workers to excel and progress. That's a good thing. We also make it easier for businesses to do business in Pontiac by encouraging service learning and professional development for all of our staff. Continuous learning is something that's important for me, and I stress it and make it available for our staff as well. They all know that I consider that city government is a service industry, and therefore our employees are service and information providers. To that extent, they conduct themselves in ways that are professional, customer-oriented, and you, the residents of Pontiac and the businesses, being the customers. I'd like to recognize some of my department heads who are here, as well as staff. And I must admit, I know you're out there, but because it's kind of dark out there, I can't see who you are. So I'm going to ask department heads to please stand, and all my staff to stand and be recognized. I want to thank you for doing such a great job for the city of Pontiac. Yes. Other ways in which we continue progress is that we continue to leverage our tax dollars by seeking out other resources of nonprofit and philanthropic support. Pontiac in the past had never built such a base of philanthropic support, and we are now attempting to seize upon opportunities for such support now. We have reached out to a number of such organizations who have begun to investigate such potential funding opportunities in the city of Pontiac. We utilize the Pontiac Moving Forward, which is our economic recovery plan, as our strategic plan, which informs our priorities of funding and staff deployment. It was well worth the time we spent in collaborating as a community in many visioning sessions, meeting groups, to work out a consensus vision for development in the community through such efforts as the master plan, the CNU charrette with the grant from the Congress of New Urbanism, which many of you attended. And we currently have many people, stakeholders, citizens, grassroots people alike, who are now involved in helping us rewrite the master plan for parks and recreation. Our 28 parks in the city of Pontiac are certainly a great resource for our city. So I would also like to acknowledge other people in the audience who have played key roles in the advancement of our city. I know our inimitable host, Tom, you already recognized a number of them, but thank you for doing that for me. But I would like to also put out a word for all of those elected officials. I know we have representatives from Senator Stabenow's office, Senator Peters' office. I thank you for that, as well as the state reps who are here, as well as our judges, who play a very important role. And I think I saw a couple of the judges here. Chief Judge, I said, once again, it's dark out there, so I can't see you. And I know there's other boards who serve as volunteers as well. Our library board, I know a member of the members are here from the library board, as well as our school board, and I think they have a meeting tonight, so they may be doing their due diligence and being at their meeting. But, and certainly the city council members. Thank you. As part of what we've done to help to revitalize our neighborhoods is something we call the Neighborhood Empowerment Awards. And those are awards that we give out annually, and this has started about 2 years ago as a mayoral initiative, to have people who wanted to come up with an idea to help to beautify their neighborhood, their area, and we're an organized group that could work collaboratively. A tenant association, a CDC, a club, who picked some project and were applying to make an improvement in their community that we were willing to fund it. And this year, we have again recognized 15 awards for that. They're listed in your program. But at this time, I know we do have some representatives as well as some city council members here. And as a way of also introducing and thanking the city council for working with us on this, I'm going to read out the awards. And city council persons, if you're here, I'd certainly like you to come forward and to receive that recognition on behalf of the groups in the community. I see Councilwoman Patrice Waterman stepping forward from District 1. And Councilman Waterman, you had quite an active number of groups in your community, and there were actually 6 different awards from District 1. I'm going to read a few of those. We had Friends of the Pontiac Park are doing a playground installation at Argyle Park. They're also doing a playground update in Bodette Park. Main Street Pontiac is doing a Hidden River Fountain flower bed project. That sounds pretty, right at Hidden River Park. And then, of course, Maddie McKinney has the park that was named on her behalf. And they're doing a playground structure update in the Maddie McKinney Park. Sean Preston, as one of the group, is one of the ones who organized that. We also have the Pontiac Sister City Club, which is helping to do the garden at City Hall that's called the Kusatsu Friendship Garden. And that's going to be presented to our Sister City visitors who come this year in November. This will be the 40th year of partnership with the Sister City Kusatsu Japan. So, Councilman Waterman, District 1 is going to be busy. We're going to be helping to beautify District 1 in mighty ways. Moving on to District 2, and the Better Pontiac Community Development Company submitted this application. But of course, Oak Hill Cemetery is one of our historic cemeteries in the city, and they're going to be repairing a mausoleum there. This is the last of the historic mausoleums that was not repaired previously from other grants, and this will complete the care of that Oak Hill Cemetery. District 4, and I see Councilman Randy Carter is here. He also have the Friends of the Park. All right, there you are, Randy. Friends of the Park are doing an installation in Hawthorne Park, a beautiful park in the city, and that's a shoreline restoration. In District 5, the District 5 Advisory Board is doing a redesign project in Galloway Park. So Galloway Park needs lots of attention now, and this is one way to start that improvement at Galloway Park. District 6, there is GM Modern Housing, which is doing a lot to restore that area, is doing a remedial forestation on Glenwood Avenue, and that is the GM Modern Housing Group that's doing that in District 6. And then there's 2, We Care Neighborhood Association. Can you handle all your plaques there? I see we have, all right. So good use of city money. We allotted $200,000 for these projects. We actually got about $432,000 worth of applications. And so we picked the ones that we thought would best suit the criteria for these grants. And then lastly, District 7, and Sherry Scott, I think you're here representing Kermit Williams, President of the Council. There is Mothers Observing Mothers at Carriage Circle. They're going to update the community room with new tables and chairs. And then Friends of the Park will be working in Richardson Park, and I know you're a member of the Friends of the Park, for a playground improvement project. So these are all very worthy projects. I'm so happy that there are people and groups who will gather together collaboratively to make sure that they use their efforts to upgrade our parks and our public facilities. We can't do it all in City Hall, and it's great to have those grassroots and other organizations who step forward and to lend to the beautification of our community. We're going to step aside and take one picture, and while we do that, I want you to thank the people. Thank you for coming forward to accept that. So we've been outlining for you so far this evening the tactics and strategies we've used to help move the city forward. By using the metaphor from the Maya Angelou poem, raising our city out of the ashes of near bankruptcy and out of financial crisis, like that mythical phoenix bird that adorns our parking garage, the Phoenix Center. Speaking of which, are any of you as thrilled as I am that we have finally reached a tentative agreement settlement with Ottawa Towers? Yes, I am. That had been a long, painful, costly litigation, including 4 attempts, count them, 4 attempts at mediation, including a few dozen proposals for settlement. And we finally have a light at the end of the tunnel for solving this conundrum that was left by the emergency manager when he ordered that the Phoenix Center garage be condemned and demolished. From the time we reached a late evening settlement, and both myself and the owner of Ottawa Towers did sign an initial agreement, both sets of attorneys have been working diligently to draft the final documents that the council is, for the council's consideration and hopefully approval. The final settlement of this long-fought litigation is a win for the city in several ways, and I'll tell you how. First, if ratified by the City Council, it resolves the litigation in a manner that is affordable for the city's operating budget and without a burdensome assessment to be borne by the taxpayers of Pontiac. All right, I'm a taxpayer. Secondly, it would allow the city to maintain ownership of the Phoenix Garage. And that was very dubious throughout this litigation. But we were able to retain ownership of it. And remember, this garage facility and amphitheater did cost the taxpayers $50 million. So to retain ownership of that is a win for the city of Pontiac. This would also fulfill the pledge that I made to the citizens when I campaigned for office, that there would be no more fire sales of city-owned property, like the Silverdome and other properties that we could mention, that would occur under my administration. With this satisfactory conclusion of this litigation, when the papers are signed, I will have fulfilled that pledge to the citizens of Pontiac. Third, the termination of this lawsuit will release the bottleneck for investment that has held the downtown hostage for so long. We want development in the downtown and central area of our city. The possibility of this case going to trial and having an adverse effect on the city's financial was a danger that was really causing concern for many would-be investors and business owners. So now, with this signing of this agreement, which we expect within the next 60 days or so with council's approval, that specter is over at long last. Of course, with the ownership of the garage, there comes the rights as well as the responsibilities of property ownership for the city. As we expect from any other property owner, for the past 10 years, the city has not contributed anything toward the upkeep or repairs of that facility. And this must be factored into the city in the budget for the near future. Through strategic fiscal planning, the city's treasury now has amassed, as I said, a surplus of $14 million. We, however, must continue to follow principles of strong financial planning and fiscal prudence to keep on the same path of financial stability that we now have established. Right now, the council is considering the budget for the 2018-19 fiscal year. It's been before them with the process that started in February, and by the charter, I did present the budget on May 15th. So we have a few more days, and council, if you want to have some work sessions or things, we need to do that because we need to stay on the right path. We've established that, and we need to continue to move forward. So I want to work with you to do that, and I do press forward in a manner that is fiscally responsible so that we can have a city that continues to move forward in the way that our economic plan entitles us to do. So we've done well in settling the litigation items inherited from the emergency manager era, and we're on our own. The other lawsuit that we've settled that was left over was the retiree health lawsuit. That was also begun under the emergency manager when he terminated the health care for the city's retirees. We have now reached a tentative settlement agreement for that after 2 long, intense years of mediation, and that's a great thing for the city. The settlement of this lawsuit would restore the health care benefits for all eligible retirees that were affected by the emergency manager's decision. The process for settlement has been approved by the council and is underway now in the courts. And with IRS approval, which is going to be required for such a unique, novel way of settling a retiree health lawsuit, we will be on our way now to having all of the litigations that were inherited at the beginning of my administration taken care of so that Pontiac can move forward in a way that is conducive to the well-being and financial stability of this community. And I'm very happy to announce that. But we do have some challenges, and we do have some opportunities. And one of those that we've talked about a lot, which is still on the drawing table, is that of youth recreation and empowerment. So I'm going to try to give you a crash course on how we got here and what that's all about. And a lot of this should be considered an opportunity. We know under the emergency manager, the 4 recreation centers here in town that were for youth were closed or sold off. So in November 2016, the citizens of Pontiac voted to have a youth recreation millage. And that was great news because people in Pontiac love basketball, love sports, love activities for the children. And I think we showed you some pictures of some really good basketball players, and we've had some greats from this city. Some of us aren't so good and struggle a little bit, but that is just a part of what we wanted to bring back for the children of Pontiac. We also wanted to have not only youth recreation, but also enrichment activities. We know that the millage that passed on November 2016 by a whopping 70% majority was something that said this community spoke loudly and clearly for what they would like to see established for the youth in Pontiac. One of the things that the millage was founded on was the Public Act, which also said that the usage of the money should also reduce youth delinquency. And that is also a great part of the thinking. And you know, keeping youth busy with healthy recreational and enrichment activities is something that also keeps their minds in a productive place and helps them to grow. So that could be a very good use, too, of this youth recreation center that the Public Act asked to be established under the vote of the millage. So we had the millage, we had the children, we had the vote of the community. Council didn't levy the millage last year, and that was supposed to be the first year of a 10-year millage. Instead, they took $400,000 from the general fund. This meant that the $1 million, which would have come from the levy as voted by the taxpayers, was not utilized for the youth activities or for the establishment of the youth center. That is lost for all time, and that's regrettable. So this year, we're considering the budget again, and we want to move forward. There's 18,000 eligible children in Pontiac. The act that the millage was passed under could cover any youth under the age of 21. And so that's a good number of our children, not just the children who are in Pontiac schools, but also the children who are in wherever they attend school, as long as they're residents of Pontiac, and up to the age of 21. So that's even for youth who are outside of school, much like it was when we had 4 recreation centers. We continue to have youth recreation activities, and a lot of our youth recreation staff is here. A variety of activities. We had over 700 children involved in a variety of facilities throughout this past year. The council, in trying to achieve a decision about how to handle the youth recreation for the coming fiscal year, did appoint a youth recreation advisory committee, which was assigned to produce a report by May 21st. And this committee is composed of 9 people, 4 of whom were selected by the council president, 4 by me, and then the resolution did designate that the youth recreation manager would also be part of this committee. So May 24th, the committee produced this report. The cover is shown here. It was an 87-page report with a comprehensive plan for moving forward with youth recreation. The recommendation did say that there should be a multiple site philosophy with a central site, and the central site chosen was the Wisner School. Here you see the site selection process and the criteria. There are a number of sites that were visited, were evaluated. Some of them were even utilized during the past year with this $400,000 that was set aside. So at the end of the process of doing all that, and visiting sites, talking to people, getting information that we had gathered, the recommendation of the committee, as was shown here, was to establish a multiple site philosophy using Wisner, and this, they felt, could accomplish all the things that were required by the plan. The reason, and maybe a good thing too, was the fact that they wanted to have satellite sites as well, because Wisner does not have a gymnasium, although it does have a lot of other features. And the gymnasiums were also site studies that were done. And we figured that from the committee's report that they wanted to have accessibility of a number of sites throughout the city so that they would be accessible to the youth. Of course, the millage money was limited to the extent, and so the number of sites you can have depends on the amount of money you have to run them and the number of staff. So one of the other things in the report were other considerations, such as the consideration of mini-grants, the fact that there are a number of groups, entities, who also have talents, mentoring, and things they wanted to give to the youth. And so the mini-grants, which could be funded by the budget that was presented to council, would also allow groups and individuals to have programs to be part of this overall plan. So as you heard a little bit from the video, the question was, why Wisner? Well, Wisner, of all the sites we considered, had many advantages and was a site that had had $4.6 million of renovation money put into it, all of which would be available for the use of the children. And one of the things that was very significant in this report was the statement of some of those other youth recreation professionals, including ones from the Lomas Brown Foundation, and who were quoted as saying, we have traveled across the region looking at potential sites and communities to partner with. Bloomfield, Birmingham, Rochester. No other facility comes close or offers what Wisner does in terms of amenities, space, and features. And not every day do you have NFL stars who've seen things all over the country to be that enthused about the site. The other people who were enthused about the site were the children. And there were a number of children who wanted to be part of the Youth Advisory Council we now have, because we thought that children should have a say in what was being offered to them. So there's a group of YAC representatives, that's the Youth Advisory Council, who have met several times and who had a lot of input into the kind of programming that we want to establish. They are here this evening, and I'm going to have them come up and receive their certificates for being the part of the inaugural committee of the Youth Advisory Council. Because as we consider this discussion, as Council goes to take a vote very soon on funding the budget and the millage, I want everybody to remember what we do this for. I want them to think about the fact that the youth of this community are our future, and that it would be disheartening not to support them and not, again this year, to have a youth recreation center when that's what the voters voted for, and that's very much what we as a community can supply. So I have a list here. I'm going to read some names, and they're going to stand with you, and I want you to recognize the young people of the community who have established for much and who are here to talk about what they would like to see Pontiac do for them and recognize. I love it. We have, how many graduates do we have here? How many graduates? Jeremiah? Angelica? All right. I want you to congratulate our graduates for their accomplishment. And I'm going to read their names after I put on my glasses. All right. We have Christian Anderson, Krishwanda Bernard, DeAndre Brown, Lamont Chapman, Fakara Fultz, Kawan Fultz, Juanzel Fultz, Saray Gonzalez, Jaylee Jefferson, Destiny Mathis, Leonard Mollett, Kania O'Neill, Micah O'Neill, Ayanna Parks, Emmanuel Quince, Isaiah Quince, Justin Sykes, Angelica Tibbetts, who spoke so eloquently when she came to council last week and said to the council, don't leave us another year without having a youth center. Cadence Tribble, Justin Sykes, James Williams, and Jeremiah Williams. I'm going to give my applause to these kids because of what they've accomplished. I'm so proud of them. All right, thank you guys. So, as we carry on our discussion, council, let's not disappoint these young people. Let's be true to what we promised them in terms of being a community that supports activities and enrichment. This shouldn't be about a site. This should be about a community that wants to support its young people. I know that sometimes we get hung up on individual preferences, but this is something we want to be bigger of and to reach beyond what our particular concerns are. Now, as I'm trying to see what the committee's report, how that was received and what the problems are, I hear that, Wisner may not be acceptable because we don't own it, or because there's something better on the horizon. So let me tell you what I know of, and maybe there's a better plan out there, but I haven't heard it. But I'd like to also reveal the other things that might be possible, that might be part of the conversation. And one of those is the fact that we have a developer in town who is interested in the Crystal Lake property. And we're going to advance the slides a little bit here. Okay? I'm going to advance the slides a little bit. This is a little upside down. It's going from south to north instead of north to south. But is it showing on the screen as well? Yes, it is. All right. Well, just picture this. Everybody knows where our Crystal Lake is in the golf course. Well, the golf course is actually at the top of this, and Crystal Lake is the lake, and then we have the peninsula of land with a lot of roads marked, and then a park next to it, which is actually owned by the city. The developer actually bought the peninsula of land from the Pontiac Housing Authority. That was the peninsula of land that used to have the subsidized housing here in Pontiac. When HUD released the levy, the developer was allowed to buy the land. So originally, when he came and talked to the city, he said he wanted to also buy the easement, and that's the border all around the lake that's owned by the city, as well as the park that's also owned by the city. And that was troublesome at first, because when I first heard about it, I heard they were going to put a gated community there. And that meant that the citizens of Pontiac would not have access to this, the last large park that was available with lakefront property, and this not only in the city of Pontiac, but in Oakland County. And that, as I talked to many citizens in the community, said was something they did not want to happen. So listening to that, I talked to the developer and I said, well, we kind of like advancement in the city, but we also want to make sure that this valuable resource is not lost to the city of Pontiac, and certainly not lost at the price that he was willing to pay for it. So after a while, he came back and said, well, Mayor, I understand maybe some of the concerns, and you're talking to citizens, and maybe I can offer you something to sweeten the deal a little bit and to see if that's something the citizens might want to consider. And so I said, perhaps so, what do you have to offer? And he said, well, I know the citizens want a community center, and maybe I can build a community center for them and be part of that. And I said, well, we'd be willing to talk and go see, but we don't want to give away the whole legacy for future generations of all this lakefront property, allowing people access to waterfront sports and the beauty of that kind of natural life. So he brought to me, after a number of months, this drawing. And I said, well, send me a rendering, and let's see what we're talking about and see if that's something we can take out to the citizens, because they have to decide if that's something that they want a part of. This is land that belongs and a legacy that belongs to the citizens of Pontiac. And I'm not going to do it in secrecy. And if I'm going to do it, we're going to do it so the citizens have a say in what happens. So they brought me this drawing, and it's a community center. And I said, well, that's a good start of conversation, but from the floor plan, it only has 3 rooms. And I think that the citizens of Pontiac had in mind something quite grander and more well-established to be used by the entire community. In fact, Council President brought something to City Council from another community that was probably about a $20 million facility. So we have a little difference between what we have imagined here and something else. So that goes to say that we're still in discussion and talks, and eventually, we have to get something that the citizens of Pontiac can be addressed to, because this is their decision. And in the meantime, people say, well, he's going to build this community center, so we don't have to levy the money this year. And I say, well, this is not said and done yet, and we still don't know what it's going to cost and what it means in terms of development of the land around it and the usage of it. And certainly, as he develops his property on the peninsula, we certainly don't want a situation where we have green and flourishing land and development on one side and something that's not quite so green and flourishing on the other side. That's not the division I want to see here in the city of Pontiac. So we're still underway, but I just brought this up because this is not something that will be ready July 1st to start having youth recreation activities for our children. And so this is something that communities get together, they have a consensus, and they work to achieve and to build our own. And certainly I would love to see that. We've been talking about that ever since we were chairman of the library board, and we were looking at ways of bringing a community center to this city. So that's one thought. But in terms of having a community center that's available now, that our children can use, that we can give them healthy activities that we deserve to have and that was passed by the voters of this city, to have a center here in this town. There's another thought and a possibility that is fresh off the drawing board, and I'm going to throw this out, and you may be the first to hear it here. It's so new and fresh that our attorneys haven't even had a chance to really look over the documents related to this. But in the last 2 weeks, we've become aware that there is another building that might be available for youth recreation. And that is something that we didn't know that was even available right here in Pontiac. But if people say they want to own a facility as opposed to rent it, this is certainly one of the thoughts to have. And this is, I don't even have a drawing of it, it's been so newly offered to us. But it's a 50,000 square foot school facility on 12 acres of land, kind of close to where this is located here. It has 24 classrooms, staff offices, a regulation gym, and I've seen the gym. It's something that a lot of our youth like to play in. A commercial kitchen and outdoor atriums. It includes furniture and newer playground equipment. So I share this because I know that this is just another opportunity as our council considers this. As I say, we're now on the budget considerations, and the council has to vote for the budget and to levy the millages. And I hope that this year they will find a plan, whatever it is. You know, we're not tied to any location, but a plan that will restore youth recreation to the children of Pontiac. I want to see that. I want to fight for them. And I hope you will stand and fight with me to serve the children of Pontiac for this. As we talk about the Youth Advisory Council who are here this evening, we think about the young leaders. And people ask me in this very tense election season, you know, we have for the city of Pontiac a lot of elections that we're considering here. And they often ask me, who am I going to endorse for this office, particularly for the races for state representation, state representative and county commissioner. And to them I say, I'm looking for who will step up as a leader in this community. How will each address the issues of our day? You know, how will they deal with this youth recreation? How we give this very needed access to community activities for our children and for our seniors, for all of us in general. You know, we get a lot of literature and smiling faces and very lovely postcards and things that are addressed to us. And sometimes it's not easy to make the choices about who has an agenda and who will support the city of Pontiac when there are tough decisions to be made. We experience what people are able to do when there's tough decisions to be made. Sometimes as a leader, and I've been confronted with this as mayor, that we look to the people to help to guide us in terms of a decision. But sometimes they can't decide themselves, and sometimes you as a leader have to take on more information to make the decision. I remember when we had the economic recovery plan, and at that time there still was a condemnation order for the emergency manager to demolish the Phoenix Center. So they took a random sampling of people and they said, how many people wanted it demolished and how many people wanted the Phoenix Center to stay up? So it was exactly 50.3% of people who wanted it down, and 49.7 people who wanted it up. So what do you do as a leader? You know, sometimes that's what leadership is. You have to step out, you have to get the information, you have to look and see what's best, and then make a decision on the best interest, and then try to be people along with you. So that's the situation here. And that's the situation I would like to see from our young leaders as they establish themselves in this community. But we do need to groom young leaders, and we want to continue to do that. I've invited a lot of our younger leaders to sit on various boards and commissions. For example, Max Main, I don't know if he's here tonight, from Max Fitness, appointed him to the Main Street Board. Dwayne Lymans is on the OSHA Board. Alexandria Wiley is our liaison to the Youth Advisory Council. Some of our young leaders are also working for us in other kinds of ways too. As County Commissioner, David Bowman has done a lot to help us get county grants to fix our streets and our roads. And he's also pursuing a grant to provide after-school transportation for our youth recreation program. Okay. Marcus Bowman, who saw a need and formed a group and brought petitions to City Council last week because he anguished that the council might not consider passing the levy this year, and that would lose an opportunity for the youth of Pontiac. So he went out and he got a group and he got 500 signatures in one weekend to bring to council. That's leadership. That's people who stand up and do the right thing. Perry Ellis is our youngest elected official in the city right now. He works on the library board, and we look, Perry, for you a chance to serve yourself. This is your proving ground, and show us what you can do as a young leader. Dustin McClellan, whose selfless efforts on the Power Kids for so long, I think 26 years he and his wife have worked for Power Kids, has certainly transformed and has really helped a number of lives. I've consulted him with his experience on our plans for our youth recreation. So many others. Chris Jackson, who has worked with us on the Youth Advisory Recreation Core Group and has come to meetings to help to plan youth planning here. So many others. It's the trouble when you start naming people, but I want to talk about some of the people that have helped with our programs here in the city. Prolific, Keith Transu Jr., Sean Preston, who did the poll for the Youth Recreation Center, and unbeknownst to us, Dominique Head of the Pontiac Regional Chamber of Commerce, Delia Straughter, Raheem Harris, and others too numerous to mention. Those are the young leaders who've got to step up and take over the roles to lead our community. So where amongst them is the next leader who will stand tall and fight for Pontiac? Where is the next Elbert Hatchett, or Milton Henry, or Charlie Harrison, or William Waterman? Who will be able to rally Pontiac as we move into the future? I thank those who have stood tall for the city of Pontiac, including those who have served us in elected positions. And once again, I know Tim Grimal's not here. He's been quite an ally at the State House as a representative for the city of Pontiac. I want to thank Andy Meisner, as county treasurer, who has been so influential with all the banks and financing institutions for bringing good deals, and he has Pontiac on his, as an ambassador for the city. I thank you for that. I thank you, Jim Nash, for continuing to keep our water pure, our citizens healthy. Thank you for that. And I also thank Brenda Lawrence, our congresswoman, who's ferocious on fighting for the issues and advocating for the issues that affect our everyday lives. And there's others I can mention. So we began this talk today with the Phoenix symbolism. It was this mythic bird, the phoenix, who has been representative of Pontiac on its journey. So you can imagine the similarity between the mythic tale of the phoenix and what has happened to Pontiac, Michigan. So both, by the story, had crashed and burned. You know, the city of Pontiac had been under financial takeover for 10 years. And many said never to regain again from the ashes, like the bird. But instead, the mythic creature, this phoenix bird, was crashed to the ashes, opened its eyes and realized it was still alive, moved a few of its feathers and saw, well, maybe we can do more, began to spread its wings and really found that it had the power to spread its magnificent wings, and it soared to the sun. So that, likewise, is a mythic tale that parallels Pontiac's history right now. So following that symbolism, I'm asking all of you to stand with me in Pontiac, and we will spread our wings together and reach for heights unpredicted. Stand with me, and we will make our young people proud that they grew up in a community that cared enough to invest in their futures. Stand with me, and we'll keep our budget balanced and a surplus that will immunize us from ever again being under state takeover. Stand with me, and we'll fix our roads and sidewalks and continue to revitalize our parks and our neighborhoods. Stand with me, and we'll change the narrative about Pontiac, no longer taken for granted as the donut in the hole of a surrounding community of prosperity, but a prosperous and thriving community itself, a destination city. I was at a funeral, some couple years ago, and it was a funeral for someone who had been very prominent through several administrations and was known to a lot of people. It was a big funeral. And the pastor who was doing the eulogy began to talk about the person, and he said something in talking about his service to the community in those many roles, that this person had served in Pontiac's heydays. And something struck me quite peculiarly about that. I said, heydays, it sounds as if that our best times are behind us. I don't think they are, and I don't think they have to be. I think if we stand together, Pontiac, we can be like that phoenix bird. We can rise and rise and rise and rise. And I say that to you. Let's be like the phoenix, like our emblem on the Phoenix Garage, and let's rise together, Pontiac. I love you, and I thank you for coming. All right.
Well, don't go before I say my last words. I thought that was just fantastic. What about you? Let's give the mayor another hand. Now the mayor took Maya Angelou's Still I Rise and stole that. So I'm gonna steal another one of Maya Angelou's poems, and that's Phenomenal Woman. This mayor is a phenomenally phenomenal woman. I know in this political debate, each side takes the position that the other side can only see out of one eye. But in the land of the blind, the one-eyed woman is queen, if you think about that, all right? And not only that, if the one-eyed woman is an ophthalmologist, she has the ability to fix her bad eye. So she's really bad. But then that's a lesson learned there that I want everybody to take home with them tonight. So you go. And we saw that last week. And it's the most important lesson I think we can take home tonight. We saw LeBron James hit 51 points. Phenomenal guy. And still lost the game. Now, what does that say? It takes the whole team working together. The mayor, phenomenal player, but the city council has a role to play on the team. The employees have a role to play on the team. You as citizens have a role to play on the team. And if all of you don't come to the game, you're gonna lose. It's as simple as that. So work together as a team. Your teammates are not the enemy. The enemy is the other team, the team that has crime makers on their jersey, the team that has economic disadvantage on their jerseys, the team that says we have a lack of investment on the jersey. That's the team we ought to be fighting, not each other. So let me take this opportunity to say, I want to thank Trinity Martin. I want to thank Pastor Clark. I want to pay, where's Mark? Mark, come on out here. All right. Mark Lee. I want to thank Reverend Jones, who's going to come in his brand new suit, looking good. All right. And where's the mayor? Please come out and join us to close it out. And Pastor Jones is going to pray for all of us. All right. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor Doug Jones, pastor of the Welcome Missionary Baptist Church.
Can we all stand? This has truly been a great evening, great information sharing, and an opportunity for us to join together. And as the mayor says, let us stand together. And we have that opportunity to do so, to move our city forward. And the best way that we can do that is to make sure we're depending on our Lord and our Savior to order our footsteps and to direct our path. And so as we close tonight, as friends, as neighbors, as cohorts, as opponents, but yet with one common cause, to move our city forward. Let us pray. Gracious and eternal God, our Father, we come. We praise, we glorify, we magnify, and we exalt your name. We thank you for your goodness and for your mercy, for the wisdom in which you have imparted upon us. We thank you for the energies in which you have supplied us with, the reasonable portions of health. We thank you, merciful God, for the knowledge that you have given to us, the fortitude in which you have surrounded us with, and those helpers, merciful God, who you have sent to us to help us lead our city forward. We pray that as we leave this appointed place, that your blessings will shower down, your strength will shower down, your encouragement will shower down upon our mayor, upon our council, upon our leaders. We pray, merciful God, in heaven, that you and you alone would order each one of our footsteps and direct our path. We leave here energized. We leave here with new hope. We leave here with an aspiration that we can make it together if we join hands together. And so as we leave this appointed place, we ask you to order our footsteps and direct our path. Lead us around the dangers that lie within our pathway. Continue to watch over us and bring us back together at the next appointed time. And so we ask in the precious, preeminent, and powerful name of our Lord Jesus, that you and you alone would be with us. We praise, we glorify, and magnify your name, and pray now that the grace of our Lord and Savior will rest, rule, and abide with these your people, now, henceforth, and forevermore. Amen.
Please go upstairs and join the reception, please.